Hey guys, in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to really quickly calibrate and set up your transmitter to be able to use in hot props. It's actually a very simple procedure, so hopefully following along with this guide you might be able to see what's different on your end that's tripping you up. First thing, we do want to make sure that your transmitter is transmitting in full deflection across its range. So by that I mean you want to make sure that all your channels are going to the full 100% in each direction. All right. You do want to set whatever transmitter you're using so that all of your channels do go 100% in both directions. Almost every transmitter has some type of a readout that will show you that you are going at 100%. And honestly, those that don't, they really don't have any way to limit this as well. I mean, you might have a dual rate button, so you do want to make sure that if you do have to do any calibration, you want to make sure you're calibrating it on whatever your transmitter's full range is. So not in if you're in like a dual rate mode where it brings it down to 80% or something like that. That could be tripping you up. And most of the adjustments really are probably better suited to be made in the flight controller software. In this case, is Hot Props. You really want to make sure your transmitter is sending the full signal of the sticks and let the mixing be done, on the computer side. So now that we know that our transmitter is operating as we need it to, let's go take a look and see what this looks like inside Hot Props. Now let's take a look at how we're going to configure this transmitter that we're sure is operating in its full capacity. I'm going to take a look and see how to set this up with Hot Props. I should say that it's important that you connect your USB dongle or your USB cable, however it is that you're going to be connecting to your Taranis. Here's a shot of the one that I commonly use. A lot of times I use the USB direct input on my Taranis, but since I did have other radios beforehand, this is the dongle that I found worked best for me. It's one of those like 10-in-1, 12-in-1, 20-in-1, whatever it's up to now. The reason why I like these is because there is a little bit of a switch where you can select different types of SIM interfaces, and I've found that over the years that certain ones like certain ones better. In this particular scenario, I'm using, I think it's the XTM setting, which is pretty generic, but it does allow all of the channels to be sent through from my Taranis. It's basically a full PPM pass-through. So whatever I can configure in my Taranis, however many channels that is, it's going to go through in this dongle. Some of the cheaper ones I've tried before, even when they say they're 6-channel, they've just been 4-channel. They do only the stick inputs, no switches. And they also usually only have one type of a jack. So what's nice with these all-in-ones is they do kind of give you a million cables. So whether you're Futaba, FlySky, FreeSky, Spectrum, whatever's out there, there's just a huge amount of these cables. So I don't know, it's less than $20. It gives you all the cables you got. I use it for all these multi-rotor sims. So that being said, make sure that's plugged in before you launch Hot Props. Otherwise, you might find that Hot Props has a hard time seeing what that is. Mine's plugged in. Let's take a look at what happens from here. Okay, let's see how we go about setting up our transmitter inside Hot Props to be able to fly with the sim. Now, since it was plugged in when I powered it up, it did actually know that this was the dongle or the USB interface that I was going to be using with Hot Props. Let's take a look at the worst case scenario. So let's assume that when you launched Hot Props, you didn't see this. It wasn't able to automatically find your interface. Maybe you have multiples and it didn't know which one to choose from. So you may come to a screen that shows none. It's really simple to pick the one you're going to use. You simply click Assign Controller. During this countdown box, move any of the sticks in your controller, and you see it automatically knew that I want to be using this interface because I did do an interaction during that countdown. That looks really good. So now let's go ahead over here. Now what we're going to be clicking on is these buttons here. It's the smallest button directly next to the title. You don't want to be interacting with the plus and the minus. You do just want to be interacting with the main component here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this box. I'm going to wait for the countdown to complete, and I'm going to move my throttle stick. And you can see the sim automatically picked that up as axis 1. On pitch, I'm going to again wait for the countdown. I'm going to move my pitch stick. Wonderful, axis 3. On roll, I'm going to again wait for the countdown and move my roll stick. Axis 2, wonderful. And lastly, I'm going to move my yaw. Beautiful. X is 0. Now, if you wanted to set up a switch or something, you could do that as well, but in a similar fashion. Now let's go ahead and take a look at this. So I do happen to know from past experience that these all map beautifully. Up is up, left is left, right is right, except for my roll channel. Now I could go back over to my Taranis or my transmitter, and I could, activate servo reversing on my radio itself, but honestly, it's so easy. Let's just do it right here. So I'm going to go to my roll channel, and I'm going to click the reverse button. Now this is going to be the setup how my Taranis, as it's set up, is going to work perfectly with hot props. I'm going to go ahead and save these controller settings, and this is what I'm going to be using. I'll be good to go from now on when I come back. Now, one thing that's pretty interesting, let's say, for example, you do start off, you do plug in, hot props isn't working, come back to this screen, you find out that you don't have anything configured. It's real simple. You just click Assign Controller, tell it which one you want to use, and it automatically brings back all of the settings that I've saved for this transmitter. So it's pretty cool. It does remember these settings, and if you're not juggling around multiple different transmitters, this is going to be super, super handy. If you do switch to a different transmitter, you'll have to calibrate to each. I don't believe that Hot Props lets you do controller profiles to where you can save multiples. Really, I'm just using my Taranis, so I'm good to go with this capacity. And if you do run into some issues where you do have it set up correctly, it's going in the right direction, but something strange is happening. I think I remember someone posting in the RC Group's forum about the throttle it was always on, it could only go increased, or it could only go, 0 to negative something. It was something with the effect that the throttle was off. What you can do here is you can click calibrate. Now at this stage, what we're doing is we're able to look and see what's happening. We'll take a look at actually calibrating the inputs in a moment, but what I like to first point out is how to actually see what your channel is doing. So it's important to do this after you've mapped them. Otherwise, you wouldn't know which one of these represents it. You can kind of randomly move the sticks around, but until you finally hit the one, you're not going to know. So in this case, we're dealing with a possible issue with throttle. I know that's axis 1. Simply click on axis 1, and now you can see what the sticks are doing. And this looks good to me. When I'm at full down, I'm at full negative. The bottom arrow is what my sticks are actually doing. The top arrow is what Hot Props is doing as a result of that. So you can see they're pretty much in sync. As I'm all the way down, it's all the way down. If I'm all the way up, it's all the way up. If I'm right in the middle, it's right in the middle. Now you can see in this little red box, that's my deadband. So if I jiggle my middle area, you'll notice the Hot Props is not going to be super bouncy and twitchy as a result of that. So that's pretty good. You can adjust that with the deadband zone slider. Do that to your liking. I'm okay with the defaults. I might play around with that, but really, for this tutorial, this is going to work pretty good. I could also invert this as well, and simply, when I go up is down, down is up, and that's what's happening on my roll channel. I know on my throttle, though, I don't need that based upon how Hot Props is working and how my channels were set up on my Taranis. Now, I do want to point out the 0. I think this could be where people are having some issues. Perhaps you've set 0 all the way down, thinking that since our 0 point in our throttle is going to be all the way down, you set it like this. And let's look at the arrows again and see what happens. You see, even though my stick is all the way down, Hot Props is at 0, is in the midpoint, actually. All right, so what it's really saying is where does your stick correspond with the 0 travel in Hot Props. So my stick's all the way down, Hot Props' throttle is at 0. So you see that's not going to be good, because as soon as I start, the copter is going to start to climb, and as soon as I give it any throttle, it's going to really start climbing to max. So that's probably going to cause a lot of issues. Now, if you've done the opposite and you put throttle all the way up here, you'll notice that even though it starts out negative, we're both in agreement here that the copter's not going to be moving because my sticks are down. You'll notice that it takes full deflection of the throttle to even get a half throttle. So this could give you a feeling of really having, not a lot of throttle, and it just like the model feels really dead. So that's not going to work either. You do want to make sure this is set right here at the 0 point, and that's going to make sure that your arrow goes right along with it. Alternatively, if you're noticing that as you move your stick, you're not getting the full negative and positive deflection, go ahead and click the calibrate button, and now it's going to tell you to move this in all directions. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to move this through its entire range, wait till the timer finishes, now I come back. And now here you'll see that it is going to be moving appropriately. However, the calibration wizard did put that 0 all the way down. So I think what's happening if you do a calibration, I think if you start out calibrating with the stick down, it's going to try to put you in this funky mode, and that's not correct. So let's go ahead and put our sticks in the center. I'm going to say calibrate, and it did actually say that on this screen, but it was kind of misleading. So you center it, then get your full range, wait for the counter, and I'm going to all the different corners. Now you'll see that I'm perfectly in line with hot props. And again, that 0 is set in the middle. Alright, so I'm actually going to cancel this because I know that my setup is good to go as it was. Hopefully that gets you guys running in good order as well. Post comments, replies, if you have any questions, leave them down below. I'll do my best to get back to you.